Welcome to From the Den podcast, providing Bears and NFL fans alike with compelling news, discussion, and debate. I'm your co-host Benjamin, joined alongside my dear friend and co-host Oren.
Hey Benjamin, let's get right into it. As always, kickoff starts now.
On to Akiem Hicks. He is clearly another pivotal part of this Bears defensive line. And his injury in 2019 was sorely missed, with not only his own play being reduced, obviously, but also players like Khalil Mack. I would attribute some of Khalil Mack's regression in 2019, although he was, of course, a great player. He wasn't as great as in 2018. I would attribute some of that to Akiem Hicks not playing. So clearly, Akiem Hicks is a pivotal part of this offense, and his injury caused the whole team to regress. Now, Akiem Hicks is finally back, but do you think that that injury will continue to set him back in 2020? Is there any looming consequences for him, or do you think he's fully recovered?
Well, if you remember, he got hurt week 5 against the Raiders, and he said that he came back off IR, which is you have to be out for 8 weeks, and he came to play against the Packers. You could tell he was a bit banged up, and every single time he would come in, you could tell there was something wrong with his elbow, and he kept re-hurting it. He hurt it 3 or 4 times in that game over and over, which shows a few things. It concerns me, but also makes me a bit optimistic. I know optimism isn't usually something you would take out of that, but the bad thing is, obviously, the injury is pretty severe. He still didn't overcome it after 8 weeks. Obviously, they didn't play him for week 16 and 17 because those games became irrelevant. They weren't able to make the playoffs, and there's no reason to risk injury. But I think that's concerning that his elbow injury wasn't fully healed by week 8, and he didn't fully re-injure it, obviously, but he tweaked it or this and that. But the good part about it is that he's able to play through it, and he finished that Packers game. He came out for 3 or 4 plays because he needed to make sure everything was fine. But with that bad of an injury, he was able to do it after 8 weeks. I can't imagine after a full offseason him not being able to power through an injury like this. And
but the question is, while you admire his toughness, that might be what eventually brings him down. If he is trying to play his hardest when he's not at 100%, that could leave him more susceptible to injury. So you would rather have Akiem Hicks playing even if he's not 100% with that added risk of injury?
Well, I mean, it depends on the game. I hope Akiem Hicks is a smart guy who understands that if the game isn't a dire game and he's
right, that's why it was sat out in week 16 and 17.
Exactly. So if the Bears are playing week 2 and it's not a huge game, then he doesn't really need to fight through it. I mean, obviously, any week is important, but if the Bears week 17 versus the Packers and they have the same record, he's going to fight through that injury to win the playoff, to get the playoffs or something like that, or a big game. He's going to fight through, like last year in the Packers game. I get it wasn't the most important game, but that game was still pretty important because obviously they still would have had to beat the Chiefs and the Vikings to make the playoffs.
Right, it was an important game. It was basically the playoffs were on the line.
Exactly. And he went in and he still fought through. And I think it also shows something about his toughness and how much he's willing to play and how badly he wants to get back on the field, which is also something that's good because he's going to work so hard in the offseason to just strengthen his elbow and make sure everything's fine.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me, except I'm not sure, like how I was questioning what you were saying, I'm not totally sure that it's admirable to have a player who's willing to go in when he's not fully 100%. But with that said, he didn't go in week 16 and 17, so maybe that's not truly what he's like. I hope that especially, with all this break time from the corona and just in general, the off season will allow Akiem Hicks to recover fully because, as I mentioned previously, and we will continue to discuss, he's such a leader on this defensive line and in the defense in general.
Yeah, I do agree. And when you look at on the defense, you look at people who are outgoing and really they're just leaders on this team. Akiem Hicks is that guy. Akiem Hicks is the defensive leader. You look at Khalil Mack, his dominance on the field is very much there, and he is a leader on this team, but I wouldn't call him the leader of the defense. Akiem Hicks holds that standard.
Yeah, for all Bears fans, I would suggest that you watch and Akiem Hicks mic'd up. It's really fun, and just watching him rally up the troops, and he's really loud, and he's a leader in that sense, like you were saying, how
he's a bear. He's scary. He's big.
Yeah, exactly. He's a big bear. So.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode of From the Den, please remember to subscribe, comment, and like this video.
Or, if you're a Packers fan, remember to dislike and leave a nasty comment. Click the links on the screen to access additional content.